Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back. It's a big week ahead for everybody in the Spurs community. We're back in co-action. Then it's Chelsea at the weekend. It's where things really do start hotting up as we hit dreaded match week 10. Helping us hit match week 10 or guide us through match week 10. We might have lost someone already, but we'll see if he turns up. The Honourable Brian Daigle might be coming in the show. Who is in the house? Lubo, calm, composed, ready for match week 10. Luke, how are you, mate? Love to be back alongside us.
Yeah, likewise. All happy. Listen, how can you not be happy after Sunday? Super result. Great result.
Set piece FC. What are we turning into?
Absolutely.
We'll come on to it and more. Also back on the show, Gary Wall's back on Last One Spurs. Gal, love to have you on here, mate. Unmute for us. How are you? Are you reveling in Frank fever at the moment, Gary?
Yeah, I've been since day one. Really happy with him. I like the way things are going. Obviously, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. However, we're progressing really well. So, yeah, very happy with the situation it is at the moment. Hopefully, tomorrow being, probably our most important game of to date. So, hopefully we can progress to the next round of the Cup as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It is a big week for Tottenham. And obviously does all start for listeners and audio tonight with, of course, our trip away to Newcastle United, the holders of the Carabao Cup, with, of course, a quarter-final spot firmly up for grabs. Newcastle, they come into this on the back of a 2-1 victory against Fulham, thanks to a last-minute winner by Bruno Guimaraes. For Tottenham, they're coming in the back of this game, obviously following that 3-0 win away at Everton, the new Hill Dickinson Stadium, where, look, in terms of Tottenham at the moment, they've gone away to Leeds and disrupted their, 17-game unbeaten run. They've become the first side to win at Everton's new stadium. So you've got to say, Frank has discovered or rediscovered this kind of resilience, winning 4 during one of the 5 Premier League fixtures on the road. But this will be a very kind of different test in terms of Newcastle United. Lubo, we'll start with you. What are you expecting in terms of this Newcastle test? We'll come on to a bit later the importance of it, but is this the toughest test for Frank so far?
I think we've had a few tough tests so far. Newcastle are running into form, aren't they? The home fans are fantastic. It's gonna be a tough game. I think if we played our first 11 against their first 11, you think to yourself, could we nick something? Maybe not. We wouldn't be favourites, that's for sure. But I figure he will rotate. I think there'll be 3 or 4 players that he'll bring in. It's going to be a tough ask. It really is.
Yeah, I think we're going to touch upon it in the show, Lubo. 3rd away game in a week. So obviously, with that being the case, a lot of rotation may be ahead of this one, potentially.
I think so, but Newcastle, that was their first domestic trophy they won since 1955. So they're not going to be looking to take their hands off that trophy lightly.
No.
So for me, I think the Carabao Cup this year for them will be more of a priority than it would be normally for that reason. And they've got a good side. But I think he'll rotate as well. They've got a league game Saturday. They've got a Champions League game next week as well. So interesting to see how both teams line up.
Yeah, I mean, look, personally for me, I'm hoping there won't be too much rotation, and we'll come on to that shortly in terms of the Frank options he'll have there. Gary, for you, I mean, Newcastle away, I think when that tie came out the hat, I think everybody to some degree was maybe concerned about what that would face Spurs in terms of Newcastle. But to be fair, we're going to come on to it shortly as well. Newcastle, they've not been invincible at home. It's a very different Newcastle what maybe they would have been under Isak. Don't get me wrong. There's, as you see in Newcastle, some good performances in there, some poor ones in the last, you'd say, 4 or 5 months. Certainly since, of course, Isak's departed. I think Eddie Howe is still, as he said recently, trying to find his best team. Gary, how important is this game for you in terms of Newcastle? And we'll come on to later in the show about team news and injuries ahead of it. But it is a big game for the football club, right? Because Frank has made that point. He needs to be competing on all 4 fronts this season.
Well, so did the ownership at the time as well, right? They came out and said that we need to be competing. So it's not just Frank, it's everybody. And, the fans want this as much as anybody else. For me, it's our biggest game of the season, as said in the opener. For me, we have to be pushing to win these trophies. Just look at what happened in the end of last season when we did win the Europa League, just the amount of outpouring of support at the stadium, celebrating, social media everywhere. We want more of that. It would be nice if Song was the one lifting it again as well. But it's obviously going to be someone different this time. But I really do hope that it's our time again to lift this trophy. It means a lot to us as fans. And I said to you before we came on here, I didn't start watching football to be excited about finishing fourth in the Premier League. I started watching football because I saw Paul Gascoigne score a hell of a free kick for Tottenham and thought, all right, I quite like this. I might start supporting them. My granddad supports them. I think I'll support them as well. And it took a few years for us to actually win anything after that. But that's the reason why you get into football or any sort of competitiveness. You want to win.
Yeah.
So don't get in it to want to finish fourth. If we could do, great, but I want a trophy as well. So for me, this is as important as anything else at the moment for us. This is probably the most important thing.
It's interesting. I'm already seeing actually in live comments of the show that are coming by, there's some suggesting that Chelsea is the bigger game of the week. And look, I think maybe some feel that because obviously our record against Chelsea has been nowhere near good enough. And the reality is that I know many people want to see Spurs beat Chelsea, but I think we'll come on to this again, the fact that I think from what we saw in the outcry, and you were there, Lubo, with Bilbao, and obviously at the parade the following week after that, I've kind of come to that point now where I think that has kind of been made redundant, hasn't it? That top four trophy argument from what we saw in Bilbao. Does that kind of make that a redundant thing around the fact of finishing in the top four to opposed to winning a trophy, regardless of it being a Carabao Cup, because you saw Newcastle fans last season, how much they loved winning that trophy?
Yeah, I think for me, I was very vociferous with Levy out because I felt there was a lack of ambition at the club. Hopefully now that will change. We'll soon see in the next couple of transfer windows whether they're all talk or whether they're going to put action behind the words. It's a very difficult one, this one, because you want to see Spurs win a trophy, of course, and I want Spurs to win every game, and I'm thoroughly peed off if we don't. Particularly when we go out of cups. The squad strong enough to win a trophy this year? At the moment, this is the first part of Frank's project. We've had 10 years of really poor transfer windows in the main, and we're struggling squad wise. The squad really isn't strong enough for me to mount a top four, a top four challenge. I suppose I probably want them to go strong this time. But you look at Kudus. He's played every single game, and you can see that he's running a bit on empty. He wasn't, first half Everton fine. Second half, you could see he was knackered. Mm-hmm. So for me, I wouldn't be starting Kudus. Not sure I'd start Polinia tomorrow, but the problem is that their midfield is so strong.
Yep.
That whoever you put in, you're going to weaken the midfield and you're going to give them the upper hands. It's a hard one. I think probably go stronger tomorrow because whatever the result Saturday, that's not terminal. We lose tomorrow, it is.
Yeah, that's how I've been looking at it. I mean, I say you're right there. What you're saying there, I don't think Gary, you agree there. That obviously we don't want to lose to Chelsea. And personally, I think if we beat Newcastle, I think we go in almost to Chelsea in a really good feel-good factor. Knocking out the holders. Suddenly you've got a Carabao Cup quarter-final on the horizon. What are you, 3 or 4 games away from Wembley? That feel-good factor will be around the stadium. I think we need to say that feel-good factor then into the Chelsea game. Do you see like that as well, Gary? Like building that momentum. Again, we know we're unbeaten away from home. Newcastle, they've lost 4 of their last 8 home games against top-flight opposition at home. Spurs, they've just lost one of their last 10 matches. So, it feels from a perspective of that, Tottenham have got every opportunity to go to Newcastle and get a result. Are you surprised by some that want to favour the Chelsea game over Newcastle? Or is that just the way football fans are and the way maybe sometimes it feels the Carabao Cup is dismissed?
I think it's just a natural thing. I think it's because it's Chelsea. I think if it's anybody else, perhaps this would be more of a priority. And it's likely that a lot of Spurs fans either have very close friends with Chelsea fans or work with Chelsea fans. It's that type of situation where you don't really want to lose to them. I think if it was somebody else, this would be more of a priority in everybody's eyes. For me, as Lubin was saying, this is a knockout. If we lose tomorrow, we're out. If we lose on Saturday or Sunday or whenever the next games are in the Premier League, we're not out of anything right now. So the priority for me is always the cup competitions. And as I said, a couple of times already, all of us here have got into this to see us win things. And that's got to be our priority. If you're in a cup, you want us to win. I think that tomorrow, just to be interesting to see what lineup that Newcastle go with, because they're also in the same competitions as we are, and the fixtures are piling up for them just as much as they is for us. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. Definitely, it's we're not going into this favourites by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a great place to go to. It's going to be a tough game, but if we can get through that, we're in with a really good shout here, because this was probably the tie I didn't want. This and Liverpool were probably the two I was like, I don't want either of them, and then we obviously were going to get one because I'd said it out loud. But it's going to be a good game. I think it's a test for our squad, as Lubo alluded to there. Like, there is a number of players that are needing a rest. So I think this is probably the time to be using that squad. Sarr, Bentancur, and Bergvall probably would be my sort of midfield three. Really, I think that Polina definitely does need a little bit of a rest. But Sarr for me is the one. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yep.
Huge fan of his.
Yeah, I think there's also a couple of positions that you probably feel Tottenham can't really change, because defensively, with no Romero, that Kevin Danso is likely to start. So you'd imagine that Mickey van der Ven is going to partner him. And of course, at the moment, in terms of defensive options, where Spurs are without at the moment, Destiny Udogie, you'd imagine Pedro Porro is likely to start, maybe Jed Spence. So then you kind of look at it and think there's not too many options that he is going to change. Maybe there'll be an argument, Vicario is really in form now. Do you want to drop Vicario and bring in Kinski, who you'd imagine would probably be the cup keeper? We'll come back to Newcastle shortly, but let's round up some of the news that we've had in this last 24, 48 hours around Spurs. And interestingly, Heung-min Son has spoken to media in this last 24, 48 hours and says that he's planning to return to London to say a proper goodbye to Spurs fans. Of course, the Europa League winning captain called a 10-year end on his relationship with Spurs. We completed a 20 million transfer to MLS side LAFC in August. Son's follow-up appearance with the club was in Seoul in that pre-season friendly where he played against Newcastle, where, of course, he left the field in tears to a standing ovation, and both sets of players formed a guard of honour. Sonny has said, I definitely think it's the right time to say, because at the time the transfer was going on, and the last game I was in Korea, obviously I will go back to London to see all the Spurs fans. I think I deserve to say goodbye in front of all of them. And they deserve to see me in a physical sense to say goodbye. It's going to be a very emotional day as well, but I think definitely I can't wait to go back to London and see all the Spurs fans. Now, Son is yet to confirm details of when he might return to England. Lubo, gut feeling, when do you think we might see Sonny back at the lane around Tottenham fans? Do you reckon that might be a pre-season friendly, or could we see him before the end of the season, do you think?
Well, I think their season finishes fairly soon, doesn't it?
It does. It does indeed.
So I would expect to see him probably maybe for a Champions League game. Maybe the Dortmund game where you've got a full house.
Yep.
I think January
yeah.
That would be an ideal game.
Yeah. Someone like I say, I think a game like I say, maybe a game that we need to get the crowd up for, a game where he'd come out and would really give it a rousing reception. Gary, there's an argument at the moment with Sonny. I think for many Spurs fans out there, it was the right time to let Sonny go. I know a lot of people said this out there, that we really didn't address Sonny's departure in terms of bringing somebody in as a like-for-like replacement on that wing. If you had the opportunity now, do you think still we made that right decision on Son at the time, letting him move on?
I think it was his decision more than ours, I think.
Yeah.
By my sort of feeling, really. So if it was the right decision for him, it's the right decision for me. I'm a big fan of his, obviously, as we all are. So it'd be nice to see him back. I think it'd be how LA get on in the later rounds of the MLS, and if they're into the playoffs, etc. And then we'll obviously see him back. So that'll be nice. But yeah, I thought it was probably time. If you had to put a gun to my head, I probably would have said that I think it probably is time. It's just unfortunate that we haven't addressed that left side, and hopefully we can do that in January, or at least 100% in the summer. But it'd be obviously very welcome back at the stadium. It'd be and it's nice that he wants to actively do that as well. It just sort of shows the type of person he is.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, it'd be interesting, I say, with Sonny, because obviously clearly he wants to have that goodbye and return properly to Spurs fans. Let's see when that does happen. Gary, to stick with you in terms of news that has been filtering around the Spurs community in the last 24, 48 hours. A name that has come to the surface that appears to maybe be a target for January is that of Dusan Vlahović. Wouldn't be the first time we've heard him linked with Tottenham. Apparently, Juventus are ready to sell in January. Tottenham are showing some interest in the central attacking forward. Juve were keen to move Vlahović on in the summer, but despite interest from a host of clubs, including former boss Max Allegri, a deal could not be done. Now, during the summer, Juventus, they signed Jonathan David and Lois Openda, which means the 25-year-old's importance had decreased. Now heading into January, and with Spurs' lack of striking options, you'd say, well, I'd say lack of options at the moment. You'd say lack of maybe options they feel are going to put the ball in the back of the net. Vlahović may very well be a target, but it's quite interesting. I've seen a lot of people suggesting he's really, really off form at the moment himself. Would he be an upgrade on what we've currently got, Gary, do you think, Vlahović, given your knowledge of Serie A?
Yes, is the simple answer. I'm a big fan of his. And while he's not been, in the best of forms, Juventus have just sacked their manager 2 days ago. So you need to put that into perspective as well. They're in a bit of a mess as things stand. He scored 6 times this season in 14 games. So, I mean, he's not hugely off form. Last season, 15 goals. Season before that, 18. Obviously, 2 huge seasons with Fiorentina. For me, what we've been really missing and crying out for, which is been missing since Kane left and definitely since Solanke's been injured, is that physicality up front, the ability that a striker can play with his back towards the goal, and he can do that, but he can also run the channels as well. He's a good striker, decent in the air as well. For me, if it's a 20 million that's been reported, that's a bit of a steal for a player of his quality. I am a big fan of his. I know there's been some talk of maybe attitude issues now and again. Sometimes you have to take this risk. If it's a 20 million, that's not, I mean, that's a huge amount of money to us, but that's not a huge amount of money in football terms. And I definitely think he's the risk. We'll have to risk. He's 25 years old. He unlocks a lot of things that we miss at the moment. And I'm a big advocate for, if we're playing with a lone striker, having the ability to play with your back towards the opposition goal, hold that off, win a cheap foul, relieve some pressure so the ball just doesn't keep ping-ponging over that midfield. And then working us up the field. You saw at the weekend, Kolo Muani just making those channel runs as well. He was doing that, but he was also holding the ball up relatively well. And he's got a good first touch. Vlahović does exactly that as well. He's on he's on quite a big salary for Serie A. And that was mainly the reason why he didn't leave. I know that Milan were very, very keen on him, but there's quite a large salary. I think it's like 16 million. So in Serie A, that's relatively high. His contract runs out in June, so the likelihood he will need to be moved on in January to make some money for Juventus. If we have this opportunity, and it looks like this might be a Paratici move again, I'm all over this. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I am a big fan of his.
Yeah, just on that point, Gary, you made an interesting point there. I mean, I think Juve's issue is that the striker is free to sign a pre-contract with clubs from abroad, with the Serbian, like you mentioned there, out of contract next summer. Obviously, they can't stop him signing a pre-contract, but whilst that has not happened, there is a chance, of course, he can move in the January window. And like you touched upon there, Juve may now be open to do a deal in the new year, and that's where Spurs could hold that advantage. And you said it there, coming on to you, Lubo. Fabio Paratici is understood to be a keen admirer of the player. Look, at the moment, we've already got 4 to 5 forwards at the club. Lubo, would you say for you still a forward would be the priority given our lack of cutting edge up front with the current forward contingent? What do you think for you?
I think that we need an 11 before we need a 9. We've got Min-hyeok, we've got Solanke. They'll both, Min-hyeok's getting fitter. Solanke will get fit. We're desperately short of an 11, a quality 11. For me, that's the priority. I would bring Tony in on loan before Vlahović.
Okay.
And keep the money for a left winger. You know, if you've got to go and break the bank and somehow twist Bournemouth's arm to let Semenyo go, which I know will be probably nigh on impossible, but that's the sort of quality that we need. Min-hyeok, I think, will come good. He looked better in the 60 minutes that he played. There was some nice, just one example how he closed down, he chased down the defender, won the corner. The corner led to the first goal. Just a small thing.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about the delivery and Mickey's headers from the corners, but no one that was sort of lost a little bit. And Min-hyeok gives you that, whereas unfortunately Richie doesn't particularly. And so for me, I'm not Vlahovic's biggest fan. I'd rather have Tony.
Okay, just to tip you, Lubo. Interestingly, Solanke still injured at the moment. I mean, a player that came to Spurs with pretty much an injury-free record. If anything, since he's come to the club, he's really been bombarded with injuries. Where are you on Solanke? A match-fit Solanke, a fit Solanke, is he good enough, do you feel, to be leading Tottenham's line as a forward in the Premier League still for you?
If you're going to be competing at the top, for me, no. For me, no. If you're going to be 6th, 7th, 8th, then yes. But if if we're going to be serious, a serious team over the next few years, then for me, we need better.
Okay,
and we've been spoiled. You look at Kane, Berbatov, Defoe, Keane. You go back, you go right the way back.
Incredible strikers.
Brooks, Clive Allen, Sheringham, Klinsmann, Greaves, Gilzean. We've had such brilliant centre forwards. And unfortunately, Solanke just is nowhere near that.
It's just, Gary, bringing you in on Solanke. I mean, he did score, to be fair to him, some really important and crucial goals for Spurs in that, of course, Europa League run last year, which got us the trophy. I know, obviously, a number of them were penalties. Can't get away from that. But, you can't forget, I think he also did score against like Chelsea, Liverpool as well last season, Manchester United. So he has got the capability of scoring in big games. Where are you on Solanke? Because I think it's just been so frustrating, the fact that we've just not been able to see the best of him because of injuries. Do you think he can come back from this recent spell that obviously out? He's had surgery. There's been a singular report out there suggesting that there might be a suggestion that we'd be open to letting him go, which I would find really, really surprising. What do you think, Gary, at the moment with regards to Solanke and his future at Tottenham? Does he still have a long-term future for you here despite the injuries that he's suffered since being here?
Yeah, I like him as a player. I think I do echo Lubo's thoughts there that if we are looking to compete on all 4 fronts and higher up the league, he probably isn't that out-and-out scorer that we need. He's not the quality probably isn't there for him, unfortunately. But if it's within a squad situation and we have him and he's part of that, I'm quite happy that he can come on and make an impact and can help us in areas that we need. I think we've just been, unfortunately, for any striker that comes to the football club for the foreseeable future, we've been so blessed to have one of the greatest players that's ever played in that position that I think that we're always going to struggle with comparisons and then be happy with what we've got. He played very well at Bournemouth, but again, he's not pulling up huge amounts of. He's not winning us games on his own. Is what strikers should be doing, and I think he's just not that level. He's just a little bit below sort of the elite, and we need to be working at elite levels. I know that sounds a bit strange that we've just won 1 trophy in the last 20 years, but we need to be. If we've got ambition, we should be aiming higher than this type of player. On Vlahović, if it's as I said before, if it's 20 million.
Yep.
That's a steal. That's worth a risk, in my opinion. that's worth a risk. We've still got money that's left over in other areas, and I completely agree that with the left side is really needed. If he's available there at 20 million to have depth, and Kolo Muani has the ability to play left as well, which he has done on a number of occasions at Juventus last year. It was playing with Vlahović. So yeah, I think that we definitely need it, and it's more squad. That if we can be in all 4 competitions for as long as we possibly can, we need this quality in. And for me, we definitely need that improvement, but we do need it out on the left wing as well.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to Richarlison, Lubo, how confident are you that we'd get him a January move? Because we surely can't have 5-6 forwards on the books, right? You know, you're going to have to balance that squad. And I think even with squad registration issues that we might have, we'd have to let 1 or 2 possibly go out on loan. Do you think we can get Richie maybe a loan? If dare I say someone at Everton, he was signing autographs for the Everton fans at the weekend. Would that almost be like a perfect move for him? Maybe Everton on loan for the remainder of the season, what do you reckon?
I think so. He started well against PSG, Burnley and Man City. And since then, his form has just fallen off a cliff. Seriously. I mean, you look at he played well in those 3 games, and since then he's been dreadful. Got a goal against Brighton. Nice cushioned header for Sarr for the 3rd goal on Sunday. But otherwise, the ball bounces off him. It's like, like a trampoline, like bouncing on a trampoline. It just doesn't stick. And it's a tough watch, when you got him up front and balls are played up and he can't hold the ball up, the ball just comes straight back. So, you're constantly under pressure. We need a massive upgrade on Richarlison.
I think I agree. I mean, the thing with Richarlison is we've kept him quite fit this season, but like you said, I don't know what's happened since kind of match week 3. It's just been so really ineffective and hasn't really helped us. And I think the one thing you really need Richarlison for is to hold up the ball. But like you're saying, that ball at the moment just keeps on coming back. And that is a big, big frustration for sure. So we'll see. Like I say, we'll keep you updated when it comes to forwards of that. Would you agree, Gary, just quickly on Richarlison for you? I mean, I suppose the only way we could bring a forward in is if a forward probably goes out. And it feels like at the moment, Tell is here for the mainstay. Odebel looks like he's going to be getting games under Frank. So it looks like Richarlison will be probably the man. If Spurs are to bring a forward in, he'd be the man Tottenham would be probably looking at get out on a loan or potentially a permanent deal if they can get it done in a World Cup year, Gary.
Yeah, I definitely think it's time. He played well in the Europa League final out on the left. I thought he did actually play well. And you saw at the weekend, he did run the channels relatively well at the weekend as well, actually. But he's just not the long-term answer for us. He can't play as a sole striker. I think that when you look at we played against PSG, just coming to Lubo's point, is that he played there with a 2, played there with Kudus with him, and he plays better with a 2. He plays better with someone with him. He can't do it on his own, and he struggles with that. And he struggles with his back towards the goal. And if we're playing with a sole striker, he just it's just not him. And that's fair. But I think it's time for him to move on. I don't really like loans, but I can only see loans happening in January, to be fair. So if it happens, okay, but we definitely need someone that's coming in as a replacement, whether that be a loan to buy or a permanent deal. So yeah, I think it is time, really. His form drops off after every time we have international. He might go a couple of decent games and then he'll drop off after international duty. It seems to be a regular thing with him. And then he takes forever to come back, forever to get up to speed. And unfortunately, I think it's time to move on.
I think Jan's going to be interesting because you've got players like Tony that are abroad he's basically out of sight as far as Tuchel's concerned. And he'll want to play for England. In America, and then you've got people like Richie who won't get the amount of minutes that he needs, and he'll want to be there with Brazil. So there's going to be quite a few players. It's going to be a few players out there that aren't getting game time.
Yeah,
is Ivan Toney's wages not an issue? I mean, he must be on an absolute wedge out in Saudi Arabia.
Well, it's funny because people were saying the same about Grealish, but Everton and City came to an agreement on that.
Yeah.
So there's always a way. You can always sort out a deal. For me, I would have loved Grealish on the left. I think.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you even actually saw the weekend with Grealish. I know we beat Everton 3-0, but he did work ever so hard for them on the left-hand side. You know, I mean, he keeps the ball for them so well. And again, it's an option that you feel, you know, you would imagine if it was in Everton's pay structure, should have been in Tottenham's pay structure.
And it was
So
a
I guess
loan.
we'll
It's
see.
a loan as well. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, why have we not
Yeah.
gone for that? It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And he's proven Premier League winner as well.
Yeah.
Over
Yeah.
Tony, like it interests me because he's a proven like Premier League player. But Jack Grealish, how we didn't go for that? I just still now I can't believe it. It still baffles me.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think the whole thing with loans. I mean, we got Polinia and Moani on loan. Moani was a last minute opportunity.
Yep.
Probably because Solanke got injured.
Yep.
Polinia was loaned with a view to making it permanent. And we needed a six desperately, as we saw for the last 2 years. But by and large, I don't think Frank wants players on loan. You know, he had the opportunity of bringing Lubin in on loan.
Didn't want it. Yeah, turn it down last day. Yeah.
Could have brought him in full stop, but didn't want it. I just think Frank wants players. I think Frank from next summer will just want players to come in, get bought, be part of his long-term plans. But January will be an interesting time for loans. I think we do. If we can't buy a left winger, let's loan a left winger.
Agree.
So what you're saying is Ricky's going to be on this program every night.
Oh, everyone will be. Lubo will be on Spurs 5, shouting and screaming. We'll know very quickly if the hierarchy have got our best interest at heart. We'll find out. We will certainly do. Look, we're going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. We have got over 3,500 that watch us live on all our platforms. Thank you so much as always for your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. I'm joined by Ian Lubin, of course, on Spurs 5. I'm joined by Gary Ward, who is popping up around the Spurs community on many different podcasts that are out there. And we're going to, like I say, look ahead now firmly to Newcastle United to come in the Carabao Cup for Spurs. Of course, building up to that tonight for listeners that are on audio and listening to this on the playback on your way to St James's Park. Eddie Howe is only lost once to Thomas Frank in 7 games. And Tottenham have lost 5 of their last 6 matches at Newcastle. And while they may not have won at St James's Park since October 2021, Spurs can look back to the fact that last time they locked horns with Newcastle in the EFL Cup in December 2014, they recorded a 4-0 victory in the quarterfinals of the tournament. And Spurs have not lost to Newcastle in the League Cup since 1976. So let's hope that record is still intact after, of course, tonight. So Frank did take to the media ahead of this game. And in his press conference, he said that all players were good that featured in the win against Everton. He said Dom Solanke stepped forward step by step. Christian Romero is on the grass, but there is no time frame for him, nor Destiny Udogie, who is also 3 steps forward. So I'm not sure what you can take away from that, but neither of those, or none of those players at the moment appear to be any closer to actually knowing when we'll be seeing them back in Tottenham shirts. On being a better team away from home, Frank said it's a relatively small sample size. Hopefully, at the end of the year, it's fantastic both home and away. It's still a team that's finding each other. The way we're building, we've had 14 games, and in my opinion, we've had 1 bad performance against Bournemouth, the second half against Wolves, and the second half against Monaco. But in general, we're building. He said it's very clear that we are in this game because we love it. He was asked, was he set a target when he took over? And he said, at a club like Tottenham, we do everything we can to win. We're trying to win every tournament we're playing against a strong Newcastle team, the holders. It's a very difficult place to play, but we'll do everything in our power to compete, win, and progress. And he also went on to say, to get to win a trophy, that's very difficult. To sustain it is even harder, but that's the aim. The players here had a fantastic experience last year and are very eager to win again, and we are going for it. Lou, I want to ask you about that. Frank has come from Brentford that I think Brentford have got an appalling or had an appalling record with Frank in cup competitions. Does he get or will he get what it means for cups at Tottenham? You know what Spurs fans are like. We love a cup run. Will he get that instantly? Will he understand that instantly, that feeling of the importance of the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the domestic cups in general? Will he understand that, do you think, for you?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think Frank wants to win every game. He's very positive. I think he's correct. He's building foundations. He's not got the squad at the moment. He hasn't got the players up front to play expansive football. So he's maximising the team's potential at the moment, which is, and you take Sunday, Vicario, Danso, Van der Ven, Palini and Bentancur had enormous, they had massive games, the 5 of them. That's where the strength is. We've done brilliantly away from home. And I think once he finds a solution at home, which I think means probably playing, because away from home we play counter-attacking football. The home team comes on, leaves spaces behind, and Spurs have maximised. We've taken advantage on that. I think he's got to find a way of moving the ball quicker through midfield to the forwards at home to break down the low blocks. Once he gets that sorted, you just think with a decent home record this season, we'd be up there with Arsenal. So I think he's done a brilliant job. Coming back to the original comment, I think, yes, he'll pick a strong team for tomorrow night. I hope he does also for the fans, because I think there's 4,000 or 5,000 fans that are on their way up there. The entire ticket allocation has been sold as usual. Yeah, and I hope the team put on the show for the fans as well.
Agree. I think we make some important points there. And you mentioned about the fans, Lubo. I mean, we've seen it actually in recent years of the Carabao Cup. And to be fair, we did have a good run in it last season until Liverpool absolutely thrashed us in that second leg and knocked us out of it, Gary. In terms of that team selection and Frank getting it right, I know Lubo said earlier, and we'll come on to his comments about the fact the lack of depth we have, and that maybe mean that he may need to rest a Polina or a Bentancur. For you, do you want to still see the core of the team that have given us that strength away from home playing this game? Because, I'll say it now, for me personally, as much as I want to beat Chelsea, for me, just in my opinion, the Newcastle game is bigger than the Chelsea game, just in my opinion. It's a cup competition. It's a knockout. Once you're out, you're out. You can't come back. And I still think, for me, winning a trophy, just for me personally, is bigger than finishing in the top 4. And anyone or everyone that was at that parade saw the effect of Tottenham winning a trophy. And you can't tell me you wouldn't want that feeling again over just finishing in the top 4. I feel that really killed a lot of those debates we had over the years about top 4 or a trophy. I just think that was made redundant by what we saw in Bilbao to the parade. Would you agree, Gary, for you? Is Newcastle the biggest game of the week? As much as we all hopefully want to beat Chelsea, and I hope if we do beat Newcastle, that gives us the bounce going into Chelsea at the weekend.
Yeah, it is. And I said at the beginning, it is probably our biggest game of the season so far. And we should want to win trophies, and we should want us to progress as far as we physically can. And I know everybody does, but you have to take this into consideration that this is going to be a massive test for us. And we need to put our best eggs in the basket that's available. And the weekend is a big deal, but this is bigger. As we've both said, this is a knockout. If we lose, we're out. The Premier League carries on, right? So for me, this is a big test. I don't know how Newcastle are going to set up, and that's a concern that it's a little bit difficult. You don't know if they're going to rest people, and I've got a feeling he's going to rest a few players. I've just got this little feeling in my head because they've got a lot of games coming up, and they don't have the biggest of squads either. So, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game. It really is, but I'm really hope we take this as serious as we can. I think the back 4 stays as it was. Personally, feel Kinski will probably play.
Okay.
And then moving forward into that, it's going to be difficult. I think Starr is definitely going to be starting, in my opinion. And then from there, it could be a host of changes. Tell probably playing Odegaard, etc. But I think that core defensive structure needs to stay the same. But I know that there was slight hesitation in your question because we were all worried about what happened last year, that, oh my God, everyone's going to get injured and we're buggered. And I think we just burnt a little bit from that we're, oh my God, we've got 3 games in a week. If we're going to get anyone injured, we're screwed. And we've already got a number of players out, and it's like we're all panicking a little bit on there. So I get that as well. And I am slightly, but I think we need to keep that core defensive structure together. It's going to be a really difficult game.
It might be my age, and Luma, not to put you in that age bracket as well. I still see even there's a lot of comments here suggesting the Carabao Cup is a worthless cup. We'd rather finish in the top 4. It still baffles me that, the fact that we had that moment in Bilbao, we had the parade of winning a trophy. And there's no disrespect fans out there, because again, it's everyone's different choices, right? If people prefer top 4, they prefer top 4. But from what we had in Bilbao, how could anyone not want to win another trophy again? I find that bizarre.
Sure.
I mean, look, that's not to say the league should not be taken seriously, but do you think it's that difficult to have to try and turn around 2 strong squads in a space of 2 or 3 days? Is that the problem? And you seem to suggest that in your early part of your answer of the show. You felt you were going to be seeing a lot of changes.
Have a look at the past. The winners in the past 10 years. You got Newcastle last year. Before then, Liverpool won it a couple of times. City won it 4 years on the spin, I think. So for me, it seems to be the top clubs that are winning it. And I know we're not at their level, and I know we haven't got a squad like City, Liverpool, Arsenal, but you got to do your best. You got to be in it to win it. And also, think I see Brentford have won 5-0 today tonight at Grimsby. So I'm sure. Although Frank's not thinking about it specifically, I'm sure he relish a good cup quarter final under the lights at Spurs against Brentford.
Do you think also on that point, Lubin, do you think Frank, it's a game he can't really win on for some? If he goes out of it, some might suggest he's not a winner, but then he's got to rotate the squad. I mean, you were suggesting you personally don't think one of you don't think Bentancur and will play together in this one. You think there will be some rotation there, and possibly Kudus as well rotated? Do you think?
Yes, I do. I think he might give Porro a rest. He might play Spence at right back, maybe Gray at left back. I know it's dangerous. Solanke is very, very fast. Depends who Newcastle play as well. They may give Gordon a night off and play Langer and Harvey Barnes. It's going to be interesting to see what team Eddie Howe puts out. He's lost his two. He's without his 2 fullbacks. With Romero and Hall. He doesn't want to get any more injuries. And it's easily done. I'm reading today that Arteta's lost potentially 4 for tomorrow night at Wolves. So the injuries can pile up very quickly. So and you've got a squad. He has rotated a bit over the part. We're halfway through. We had 28 games from PSG to Brentford on the 30th of December for the first half of the season. We're halfway through. And thankfully, we've got injuries, but I think the key players that started this season have not been injured. With Chakoudas, Fellaini. I know Romero's got a small injury at the moment, but thankfully it's not a big one like last year when Ange put him in before he should have played, and he missed 4 months. 4 months, I think, between Chelsea and Bournemouth in March. So I think he'll make 3 or 4 changes from the weekend with Saturday in mind as well. But he'll have those players on the bench. So we'll be fairly strong.
Obviously, Gary, one of the things that Spurs have become recently, and we'll come on to Lubo as well in a second, is the fact that they've been so strong from set pieces, both attacking them and defending them. Is that where, again, you should have a core attribute being used away from home in this game? Because, this is becoming like an age-old debate now, and a lot of Spurs podcasts is that we're now seeing that there's a real change of modern-day football, and it is now a lot around set pieces, where you think Sam Allardyce must be just a call away from being rehired to come back into a Premier League team at the moment. I mean, what are you making of the way Spurs are playing at the moment? I mean, I've said for me that personally, I think when we're winning, don't think it's an issue. I think obviously when we're not winning, that's when it becomes more of a problem. But, ascending to a side that lost a lot of games last season, right? And I think, you just want to normalise that feeling about winning again.
Yeah.
So where are you going at the moment in terms of that brand of football?
I mean, it's not the brand that I want to see, but it's winning football and we're not losing. I mean, we've lost lost 2 in 14 games, right? So why we shouldn't be arguing at that. I get the arguments. However, we've come off a 22 game losses in the league last season. He's not going to be able to change everything within 3 months. what he has done is he's seen that there were leaking goals. He's fixed that leakage. He's shored us up. He's also recognised that our previous manager didn't bother doing anything with set pieces. He's brought in an experienced set piece coach that's gone, hang on a minute, I can change this. He steps back in his own technical area and allows him to manage that, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I think I was shocked seeing it live the first time. I thought, yeah, fair play to him, because there's a lot of arrogant managers around that wouldn't do that. He's looked at two of the massive areas for us that we were really struggling and gone, I can fix that instantly and we can build from the back. Defence wins championships. Attacks win games. Defence wins championships and trophies. And by doing that, we're on the right path. However, last season we had so many injuries at the back line, we couldn't stop the leakage, but we could score. And now we've got too many injuries in the front line and we're struggling to score from open play, but in most games. But the set pieces are working for us very, very well. So more of what we've got at the moment, and even Thomas Frank has addressed all of these concerns and worries in the last couple of press conferences and videos. He understands that we're not playing this attacking football that he even wants to see, but we don't have the people on the pitch at the moment to do it. So we have to build from the back and be difficult to beat. And at the moment, it's working. And I'm all for that. For me, we won the Europa Cup last season, Europa League. I can't even remember the game at this point. I know it was crap, but I don't care. I absolutely don't care. It was one of the best nights ever with my mate, with one of my best friends, my brother, my little girl in our room, the living room, watching it. It was one of the best nights. Nobody in the 3,000 or 4,000 people were watching this even remotely care that it was a dreadful and we were poor. We won. And that's what we should be worrying about, winning football games and winning trophies. And we can obviously see the comments that come in on our little app we use here. The amount of people that are saying that the Carabao Cup doesn't mean anything. That's a trophy. That's something to win.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
And
I am surprised.
Winning becomes, what's the word?
A habit.
A habit. Yeah.
It's a habit. Anything you do repetitively, you want to get in shape. You do the same things over and over and over and over again, and then you get there. This is the habit. It becomes a habit. Lubo was talking about how Man City won that 4 or 5 times on the bounce. That's a habit for them. They don't need it. They don't need it. But their fans love to win and want to see a trophy. I want to see as many trophies come through that door.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny. A couple of things that you said there. Now, we've got injuries. We've got plenty of injuries.
Yep.
Like we had last year. Last year, the problem was we were wide open. So regardless of injuries, whoever you put in there, teams were going to attack us. We're wide open. They're going to take advantage.
Yep.
We've lost 2 in 14 with several players. You've got Dragerson, you've got Romero, you've got Davis, you've got Takai. You've got 4 centre backs now injured at the moment.
Yep.
So it's not just the forwards. And for me, I'd love to see 3 at the back. I'd love to see Dan Romero and Van der Ven, and utilise Porro and Udogie as wing backs, because that's their strongest position. So maximise their potential and for the team. Funny you mentioned Bilbao. You're there in the ground and you're watching it, and it's it's riveting. You're glued to it. It's a cup final, and at the end of the game you're just wrapped up in the whole thing. I got round last week. I take the TNT program with it, and I went back and watched it throughout last week.
Yeah,
I've got to really say, if you were neutral, you'd fall asleep. Yeah. It was absolutely horrendous, and it's funny because I came away thinking Richarlison's worked really hard. The amount of times he lost the ball in that final, didn't even notice it, or you just see the players working hard, defending hard.
Yeah,
defending well, dropping back, closing down the space. But you're right; it is about trophies. It is about ultimately it is about trophies. Whether this is too soon in Frank's reign, and you got to remember that we won a Europa League with playing against teams that are not of the calibre of the teams that are left in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
So you look at Newcastle, Liverpool, City, Chelsea's still in it, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Arsenal, you know.
This is why, though, Lubo, isn't it? That's why it's so hard to win these domestic cups.
Yeah.
You're going to have to knock out maybe 2 or 3 of the traditional top 3 or 4. That's what makes it so harder, right? And again, which is why a lot of people, I know people were saying that we were being claimed as favourites to win the Europa League. And, you know, yes, you'd say you still have to go and win those games. But this is why I think we've found it so hard, Lubo, as you know, in domestic cups to win games, because you've had to face a Liverpool, a Man City or a Chelsea along the way. But is there a fair argument at the moment that when you're looking at a lot of those clubs right now, a lot of them seem like in transition? Liverpool don't seem to be the Liverpool that we thought they were at the start of the season. City aren't the really same City as well. Is it a really good opportunity? You know, again, bar the team that we don't want to really mention here that are at the top. You know?
Well, you look at it, Liverpool have made loads of changes. I mean, they spent an absolute fortune, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think he's possibly brought too many players in, and you've also got Van Dijk and Salah who are not playing like they did last year.
Yep.
City, you look at the Premier League today is about athleticism and power, and you looked at their midfield, City at Villa, and you know it was very very lightweight, and you're not going to compete with McGinn and Kamara and Onana. And unfortunately, I think it's Arsenal's to lose this year.
Okay.
It really is. You know, they've got cover in every position. Their strength. You look at all their players. Yeah. They're all monsters. You know, physically, they're all massive. Saka's probably the smallest, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So and that's where it is. So you look at the difference that Paolini has made. You know, with physicality, Kudus as well. And we were lacking this last season as well. So the more powerful players that Frank brings in, the stronger we're going to get. And this is the way football has gone. You know, that it's 95% is two touch. It's control, give and move, isn't it? The whole time. There are no mavericks. So you know you don't get Ginolas and Bales anymore. It's football's changed. In fact, I was listening to TalkSport on Monday, and they were saying, I think Danny Murphy was on, just saying that it's like football has gone back to the 80s.
Mm.
The long throws and the power and the long balls now. It's changed. People have moved away from the tiki-taka of Pep.
Yeah.
There's just something that someone said in the comments. Jay Murray has said, winners mentality, we go after everything. And that's what we should have. That's the mentality that we should have. There you go. Look at that's the mentality that we should have as fans and as players and as clubs. Look, we're not going to do everything. We're not going. And as Lube said, we might not win anything this year, but we've got to go for it. We've got to go for it because you just never know. Yeah, you just never know.
But this is what I mean at the moment. You know, I'm even surprised there's even like a split about what's the more important thing. Like I understand that we all want to beat Chelsea. Don't get me wrong, but I also think, you know, when people are saying we've got a lot of games building up, well, that you could have. That's also going to calm down at some point. We're not going to be playing twice a week all the time, right? You know, I just think the Carabao Cup is an opportunity where what you saw with Newcastle last season, when they won it, and pardon the pun, they actually spurred them on to go and finish in the top 4. It didn't have a negative effect on their season. You know, when we won it, of course, under one day Ramos, it had a negative effect on our season where we completely derailed and, you know, it really affected the league full. But Newcastle actually used the Carabao Cup as a springboard. It wasn't a negative. And I think that's why it's quite interesting how the cup can actually be used, Lubo, as momentum rather than it disrupting the season.
You've got to use it that way. I think the fact that Frank has come in, and normally when a manager comes in for a project, first season he's getting his ideas across on the training ground. He's not had a chance because we're in the Champions League.
Very little training time. Very little training time.
Right. Yeah. So you've got to just take it game by game, and you do build momentum. And the fact that we're third in the table, we're in the Carabao Cup, we're unbeaten in the Champions League. Yeah, I think I think Frank's made a superb start, considering we don't have an 8 like a Modric, like a Dembele, who controls the game in midfield, sprays the ball around. We haven't had a 9. We don't have an 11. We scored 17 league goals. One of them was an own goal. The other 16 have been scored by 9 players. So we don't have a prolific goal scorer. You know, like
No.
City got Haaland, Ekitike's been putting the ball in the back of the net for Liverpool. I'm sure Gyökeres will start banging them in for Arsenal as he settles in. We don't have that type of striker, that level of striker. So we've had to spread it across the team. I mean, Mickey's leading goal scorer in the league with 4.
It's crazy. It is crazy at the moment. It is. When you see Mickey van der Ven top the goal scoring chance, and we're just about to head into November. It is absolutely mental. It is. So this game, of course, like we're speaking about, of course, Newcastle United. We said it earlier in regards to Newcastle. They are also going to make some changes in there. Fabian Schär, Harvey Barnes, Antti Elanga, William Asula. They're among those expected to feature from the first minute for Newcastle. There'll be a battle, you'd imagine, between who's going to be their number one for the game in terms of who starts it, whether it'll be Aaron Ramsdale in goal for them over Nick Pope. Just very quickly, guys, for us, I think, Gary, you said for you probably imagined Kinski will come in. Is that his opportunity there, Kinski, for him, just to keep playing or get at least some football this season, or does that disrupt Vicario's room at the moment? He's had a really good last 7 days, Vicario. Would you be inclined, Gary, any way to keep Vicario in, or do you think Kinski, it's a cup game, needs to play games at some point? This is his chance, Gary.
Yeah, I think he just needs to be playing some games. He does need the chance to play some games that he's only played against Doncaster. And he made a hell of a save in that game as well. But it is Doncaster. He does need to keep ticking over, getting some minutes with the players on the pitch. It might be difficult being with how well Vicario is playing, but I just feel like it will be Kinski in. I think that's the natural changes that happen in the Carabao Cup or traditionally. So yeah, I think it probably will be that. I think that for me it'd probably be the only change of the back 5. I do like Lubo's back 5 that you said about earlier. You know, Gray coming in and things like that. I think I'm all for that as well. I just feel like with the defensive structure we've got at the moment and how dangerous they can be, I feel like Thomas Frank might go more secure than making wholesale changes to that back line. I think more changes will come into midfield and in the forward lines.
Okay. Look, we know
the great thing is we live and breathe Tottenham all day long, all of us, everybody watching, and we still struggle to pick a team. So it must be really difficult for anyone coming up against us to pick that team as well, because, I mean, the 3 of us here could come up with a completely different lineup, and we live and breathe this. So
I would keep Vicario. I think if Spurs are going to win tomorrow, then the chances are he's probably going to need to have another worldie. So, you know, if you're looking at it as in regards of how we're going to win, what you need is we're going to be under the cosh for most of the game, and you're going to need Vicario on top form, and Spurs can counter attack and break away and nick 1 or 2, and that, for me, that's the only way we're going to win.
Do you see that they're very similar setup to what you've seen away at Everton, away at Leeds, away at Brighton? Soak a lot of pressure in, then counter attack. Is that the way you see Frank lining up for this one?
I think we faced more pressure at Everton than we did Leeds and Brighton. I thought we were superb for most of the game. Thought fully deserved to win and win well. The only reason why we didn't was we gave away 2 silly errors. We got caught up pitch for the first one, and Vicario put his balance the wrong way with a shot that dipped as well. So he was in no man's land for the second. And we had to come back. And I thought we were all over Brighton. I thought we dominated Leeds until, again, stupid goal we gave away to bring them back in the game. Then we were fortunate. I think it was Bamford. Was it? Not Bamford. Calvert-Lewin blazed over.
Yeah.
After that, could have scored, and I thought we were comfortable again. I think away from home we've been really, really superb. It'd be fantastic to go to the Emirates still unbeaten away from home. That would be brilliant. I don't see it. Unfortunately, I don't see it. I think I see us going out tomorrow. Okay.
All right, Lubin, you've answered my next question. Gary, how do you see it working out tonight for listeners and audio?
Head says probably the same, unfortunately. Heart says, we don't, but I think it's going to be a really difficult game. I just want to see both lineups. Will probably make my mind up completely just to see who's rested from Newcastle's side of things.
Yeah.
My only real concern is where the goals come from. That's my biggest worry. I'm not sure where the goals come from, because there will be changes to our lineup.
Yeah. Look, my biggest frustration is when I look at our cup exits. Well, going back many, many years. I mean, even Pochettino and the one that we had, obviously the exit under him, forgive me, obviously away from home to Colchester. I even go back as far as the Grimsby exits. There's been games that simply in cup competitions Tottenham haven't turned out for and go out with a whimper. I can accept going out of a cup as long as we're doing anything on the field. What I just can't tolerate is a lack of a performance. So as long as we go to Newcastle and give absolutely everything and leave it all out on the pitch, then I'll accept the result either way. But I would be very, very frustrated and angry if we go out there and just turn up waiting to be beaten, which I felt... I mean, definitely I look back at our cup exits in recent years. I mean, the Villa one last season, the Liverpool second leg in the Carabao Cup. We was almost admitting defeat before we got there, which would be really frustrating. I just hope that we've got a really good away record that we've touched upon in the show. We're still unbeaten away from home. Will that give them, Lubo, some confidence, the players that are there? Because I don't think we've beaten Newcastle at home since 2021. How much more confidence would it give the players, the fact that we've been unbeaten away all season up until now? Will that give them some confidence going there?
Yes, it will. I think also, listen, they're resilient. We came back Wolves, Brighton, Bodo in the space of 11 days.
Yep.
And came back. There is a never say die spirit in the team. I think if we can get through tomorrow, the bounce that it will give the whole club going into the Chelsea, going into the week next week. We've got 3 big home games. I think will be fantastic. But I think if we play well, regardless, if we give a good account of ourselves, you never know how a game's going to go. No. Games can be undone with refs, VAR, with injuries, with a worldie, whatever. So, but providing they play well and they give a good account of themselves, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is the start of a big week. Lubo, we're going to see you towards the end of it because hopefully by then we've not had too many injuries. And Gary, we're going to see you really, really soon. Gary, thank you so much. Lubo, thank you so much to the near on 3,000 that have been listening and watching. Thank you so much. Big week in store, Carabao Cup week. I'll be the positive one out of the 3 of us. I think we can progress, but I think, if we're going to progress, then we're going to need to see a lot of the players that have been the core of our season so far on the field to take us through. And I agree with Lubo that I think Vicario, if he is to play, will prove a huge part in that game for us, right? So, Gary, big week ahead. Any rallying cries to the fans ahead of this big week?
Just get behind us. Everything we do, even at home, the home atmosphere needs to massively improve as well. And just keep getting behind, keep that positivity going. And look, good things will come. We've got a fantastic football manager, a coach that will bring success to this club. Got no doubt about that at all.
Gary, thank you so much. You're a start. Lubes?
You took the words out of my mouth, Gary. I think if we do lose, I don't want to hear a meltdown like we had after the Monaco game. All this thing about shouldn't have got rid of Ange. I mean, come on, we all saw what Ange did at Forest. So people just got to get behind Frank. You can't. Rome's not built in a day. It took Klopp, 4 years to go and win the Champions League, and then a year later for the league. Even took Alex Ferguson 4 years. And I don't want to hear people saying, "Oh, well, football's different now than it was then." It's all relative, And Fergie had to build a squad, build a team, build a squad, and it took him 4 years to win the FA Cup, 6 years to win the league. Yeah. Arteta will, I hope not, but will probably win it this year in his 6th or 7th. Is it 6th season? Yep. So Frank's been there. Frank's been training with the guys next week. It's 4 months.
Yep.
Yeah. He's done a great job. The future looks bright at Spurs. It really does.
Okay. Well, look, we'll see what the rest of the week looks like. It feels like it's a big week in this match, week 10, where we just need to get through this week, and hopefully we've got most of the squad intact. From Gary, from Lubo, from myself, we have been the last word on Spurs. Keep strapped in. It's just about to get excited from us all. Keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on, you Spurs.